This is a debate, not a debate, a conversation, but it is going to be back and forth where I am going to propose that the left is not as responsible for political violence in America. And Dallas is going to take the counter position where he's going to say the left is in fact, and that the right is not as responsible. So it's going to be the left versus right dynamic. But unfortunately, in this case, we're not going to be debating ideology. We're going to be debating violence. And isn't it terrible that our country's reached a point where we have to have this debate? But apparently we do. And so it is an important debate, and I'm here for it. Let's, as I said to Dallas, he's let me know up front that he's come with some pretty solid. You said ammo, but let's leave that word out. A debate that he's come with some good talking points, let's call them, and that he is here to school me. So why don't we start with you, Dallas, since this is something that I know you're passionate about, and this conversation happened because I saw some posts you were posting online, and it's clear that you're very passionate. You believe that the left is, well, I would say responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, and in addition, you're seeing signs that the left is, I'll let you speak, but as near as I could surmise, going off the rails and maybe going to a dangerous place with violent rhetoric. Would you say that's accurate?
That's fairly accurate. Yeah, sure. I certainly think it's disproportionate. Like, yeah, and I'll say that it's not a majority of either side, but it is disproportionate from just about everything that I can gather. And we can certainly kind of go through that in some detail. I'll start off. Did you?
I got your clips ready to go. We'll play them as you ask.
Okay, yeah. I don't even necessarily want you to play the clips. You could play one or two if you want to, but I mean, I don't really.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea to play one or two, but you let me know when. But let's get a few of the clips you sent me, and I think that helps frame the issue properly.
Well, if you're gonna play them, you can go ahead and play a few of them, and then we can.
Let's start with some of the clips you sent me. So these are clips that Dallas sent me. He thinks that this is indicative of the left, and let's go with the clip one.
But it's also understandable that people can gain joy from this because of the type of person he is and the type of things he say.
I will never understand how anyone can feel joy about shooting another innocent human. Where is the joy in that? We have one life to live. And as Christians, we believe we have an eternal life. But many of you aren't. If you're not a Christian and you think this is your only life, why would you gain joy out of someone's life being shot? I can't deal with people who think he should die.
Okay. So in that example that she gave of people who think she should die, she just had a woman who said that she understood why somebody might express joy. She didn't say that she personally did. And can I ask you something, Dallas?
Well,
who were those
people? You can, but let me just say, if you, I don't know if it was all what I sent you in that particular clip, but in one of the clips that I sent you,
yeah,
it has the larger context of that conversation, and there's a whole group of students. Like, in fact, she's standing there having her little back and forth in a very kind of Charlie Kirk-esque fashion, and she's more of, I guess, an abortion advocate. And so she's talking a lot about that. Anyway, so she's having this back and forth with these students, and she's looking at her phone, and she gets the alert, like in the moment, it's all on camera, that Charlie Kirk had been shot. And so she's going like, oh, she's kind of freaking out about it. She's like, oh my God, did y'all hear about this? And she announces this, and the students, you can see the one she's talking to, and then you can see more of them in the background, they laugh about it. And then she asks them another question about, are you cool with like Donald Trump being shot, kind of later on in this back and forth? And you hear shouts of yes, yes, and continuous laughters. Now, we don't even necessarily need to play.
Hold on. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the clip that you just described to me. Do you know the names of any of the people that said that?
No, I don't think it matters necessarily.
Well, I do. Do you know that, I don't know, the number of followers they have on social media? How influential are these people?
Okay, we'll get to the influential people here in a minute, because I've got a whole list that I didn't send you of quotes of people that I want to read all of them off, and then let you comment.
So right now, just to be clear, that was a clip of somebody. No, you knew no one's name, and you don't know where it was shot, and you don't know who these people were saying.
Sure.
The only thing we saw from that clip was a girl saying that she understood why some people might be joyful. She didn't herself express any joy. Let's move on to the next clip.
How many? Okay, you playing another clip? Is that what you're doing?
If you'd like to, I
don't really want to waste time on the clips. Like, I wanted you to be aware of how many examples there are out there of people.
But that wasn't an example. You haven't given me
videos.
One yet.
What's that?
That was not an example. That was an example of a girl saying she understood why somebody might be joyful. She didn't express any herself. I think we might want to try another clip or two.
I sent you the full context of everything else that was going on within that exchange. So, I mean, it would be your own, for lack of a better word, ignorance, or you just maybe you're too busy to look. I did send you a fair bunch of things to be
I did,
fair.
And I'm happy to play them. That was the clip.
But within what I sent you, there's the full context. There's people laughing. There's all of that. There's people.
Isn't that terrible? Who are these people? You don't know.
I don't know, and I don't care. At least for the context of this particular portion of this exchange with you and I.
Okay, so let's play some more of the clips. There's a reason. I'm playing the clips as you sent them to me,
Dallas. I sent you so many clips. The point, it'd be one thing if there were just one or two examples of just some, I don't know, people's out there like mocking the Charlie Kirk's death, saying that they support it, laughing about it. It'd be one thing if there was like a few examples that I could find. I sent you maybe 30 examples, and there was still a whole bunch more I could have sent you. And this isn't even getting into like the left-wing echo chambers of like Blue Sky and all the conversations that people have back and forth.
We can get into that as well.
There seems to be an endless amount of people out there that are celebrating it, laughing about it, and it's amazing how many of them are willing to post on the internet their reaction to this. I mean, these are it's purely evil reactions, just mocking and laughing at the assassination of somebody who was basically just a run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road conservative. I mean, he represented so many people, myself included. I may not agree with every view of every conservative. That's not the point, right? Like, he was representative of the movement, and many, many millions and millions and millions of Americans' views, and somebody assassinated him for it.
Yeah, and that's
terrible. There's lots of people out there.
But how many people are in America?
What's that?
What's the population of the United States of America?
Like 350 million or something like that.
350 million. So even if you found a million examples, that would be under 1%. So, and I don't think you did. You found 30 examples, and you say there's more. So right now we're talking about.
Here's where the rubber meets the road. If we're debating this as an issue, as a question, then my job is to bring as many examples of this stuff as I can give, and then your job is to bring as many examples of the opposite or some sort of corollary for the right wing reacting.
Well, I don't think there is a corollary
in similar ways to a similar situation. So then I can go ahead and ask you what examples did you find of any type
We'll get to my examples in a
similar
second.
Situation of people on the right reacting in similar ways and in similar numbers.
Okay, well, I mean, I didn't go for people on the right because I don't care about anonymous trolls with 3 followers. And by the way, we don't even know if you're going to show me tweets or Blue Sky or anything like that. The studies have shown from Donald Trump's Justice Department that I think like almost 50% of the content on social media posts is fake. It's not real. These aren't even real people. So that doesn't count for anything.
There's a reason why I sent you videos, because
and I will play some more of the videos. But if you just want an example of somebody making fun, how about Don Jr. making fun of Paul Pelosi being attacked and hit in the head with a hammer, and Donald Trump doing the same?
Yeah, there again. Okay, there's an example of something.
Yeah, except Donald
I
Trump, how many followers does he have?
First off, he's not mocking the actual murder of somebody. So I will condemn
getting hit in the head with a hammer is you're drawing a distinction.
Yeah, I will condemn the statement. Okay, I'll condemn the statement. I don't even know what the specific statement is exactly, but I will condemn the statement. However, it's not the same thing as let's be perfectly clear. It's not the exact same thing. It's not on the same
level. It's far
level.
Worse.
It's not on the. Of course, it's not far worse. It's far worse.
The president of the United States and his son mocking a man getting
actual murder of somebody. That's
okay.
Far worse.
Then let's. If we're just going to talk about mocking, then why don't we take Mike Lee mocking the murder of the Minnesota state Democratic representative?
Sure. Would you have the quote, or what did he say exactly?
Well, for one, he lied, and for two, he let me see here. It's right here.
Mike Lee of Utah posted a picture of the suspect at the door of one of the lawmakers with the caption, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way."
Okay, so she was just murdered by a Republican, by the way. The guy was a hardcore MAGA.
Clear at all, actually.
That is 100% clear. He was a part of the New Apostolic Reformation. He was a Trump supporter. He was a Republican, and he had just murdered him. So not only did he make a joke about it, he also posted a Nightmare on Wall Street, which is not even a good joke. The guy's so dumb he doesn't know how to fucking do wordplay. But that said, he did post a joke, and he also posted misinformation. He blamed it on Marxists when it was a New Apostolic Reformation religious person and MAGA guy who murdered them. So there's somebody making fun who is a sitting United States senator. So now we have the sitting president of the United States mocking Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, Don Jr. posting like rumors of him being gay and jokes, and Mike Lee, a sitting senator, mocking a murdered, assassinated Democratic senator. Let's move on to your next clip.
Well, he wasn't. It's not clear that he was mocking the murder.
What was he doing, Dallas?
He seemed to be drawn. No. Let's think about this clearly. What he was doing, which I don't understand, which is probably false, was he seemed to be drawing some weird corollary between that incident and Marxists. But he wasn't. Oh,
guy wasn't a Marxist.
I'm so happy that this person.
Well, then why did he say Nightmare on Wall Street?
Which is what we have a slew
what is Nightmare on Wall Street,
of
Dallas?
Left-wingers doing to the Charlie Kirk thing. So I don't want to.
Anonymous left-wingers no one's ever heard of that have no reach. Anonymous left-wingers no one's ever heard of with no reach. Sitting United States senator.
Let's get into the quotes. Can you want me? Can I
go
ahead?
No, we're going to play some more of your clips.
I don't want to waste time on the clips. I want to actually have this conversation, this back and forth. We have limited time. I have a lot I want to say about this.
Okay, so let's be clear. Every clip you sent me was an anonymous, quite frankly, 19-year-old, 20-year-old on social media saying something possibly a little bit callous.
Callous?
Possibly.
They were.
That woman just said the clip.
This is not even ambiguous, dude. They were. I send you examples of people
then
laughing
let's play
at,
them.
mocking,
Why are we not
celebrating, openly celebrating the assassination of just pretty much a normal conservative dude like that. That's what I sent you.
Then why don't we play the clips if that's what you said?
Because we have limited time, and I have a lot I want to say. Quite frankly.
Just for the course.
Okay, Dallas, let's be clear. They're all anonymous. You don't know their names. They're 19 years old, and they say, I will give you callous. But the one example we just played was a woman saying she understood why somebody might say, which you could say is callous as well. So callous clips from anonymous trolls. Go ahead.
I would like to move. You can frame it however you want. Like, can we?
Well, that is how it would be framed, because you don't even know their names. If they're not anonymous trolls, then name them. Tell me their names.
I'm about to give you a list of quotes from people who have, in one way or another, high esteem in our society. I'm talking about everybody from major politicians to major pundits to political figures, cultural figures, etc. And I would like to say all these quotes now because it is
okay. Before you do, I think it's fair that I get to play a clip. All right. I think before you do, it's fair that I get to play a clip.
Okay.
So in 2016, Donald Trump began making incredibly incendiary, violent innuendos. And this one is kind of where it all started. And if this is not a call to violence, I do not know what is. This is him speaking about if Hillary Clinton wins.
The Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
Nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, that is to say you guys with guns, maybe there is something you can do. You'll be out of legal options, but maybe there's something you can do with your guns, says the man who then inspired January 6th. That's how he started his campaign in 2016. Let's hear your quotes, because I have plenty of quotes for you.
Okay. Let me comment on that first, and then I'll get to the quotes. So, sure. So while I don't endorse the statement that Trump just said, there is a certain ambiguity to what he said.
No, there's not.
Numerous
no,
ways.
There's not, Dallas. Do not come on here and piss down my back and tell me that it's fucking raining.
Hey, I'm about to
Second Amendment people.
Hey, I'm about to explain. For when I say ambiguity, there are numerous ways to interpret.
That's what how he said. Tyrants speak is an ambiguity.
Example, give me a break. Okay, so some people interpret as it was a call to murder Hillary Clinton. That's not how I interpreted it.
Doesn't matter how you interpret it. How did the militias interpret it?
The way I interpret that statement, again, it's not something I'm endorsing or condoning. However, what he was saying, what I think he was saying in that clip is that if we got to a point to where we had a Supreme Court that was literally, again, remember, this is all very hypothetical. If we got to a point where we had a Supreme Court that was literally taking your gun rights away, like just abolishing the Second Amendment essentially by fiat, then
that's not possible. So you just made up an imaginary scenario that's not even possible.
Which is what
you cannot abolish the Second Amendment by fiat.
In that clip, it's not the same thing as celebrating somebody's actual assassination. Let's be clear.
No, it's actually calling for violence.
Well, no, it's.
Do you know what stochastic terrorism is?
Sorta.
Stochastic terrorism is the idea that if you say something to a large enough crowd, you don't need to instruct any specific one person to go do violence. If you say it to enough people, you know that statistically speaking, someone out there will take your message and go do violence. And that's called stochastic terrorism. And I think Donald Trump's been guilty of it several times already.
Okay, so
that would have been an example. Okay, and by the way, you cannot repeal the Second Amendment by fiat. So what is with this bizarre scenario where you just made up a fantasy?
Then there shouldn't be any worry about anything
then why would
happening
he
in the next, because that's essentially what I think he was saying. If the Supreme Court literally abolishes let's listen to what he was saying. Do
you know how to get rid of an amendment to the Constitution?
Yeah,
do you know how it's done?
Again,
it's only been done once.
Again, you're trying to compare people who actually call for actual assassinations, celebrate the Second Amendment is abolished, and the Supreme Court doesn't recognize those rights anymore. He was saying then maybe the only way forward then for people who support the Second Amendment is to use their guns when people decide to come around and collect your guns. Like, again, it's an extremely hypothetical scenario.
No, it is an extreme hypothetical.
That
why would somebody
what he was saying and what he was commenting on?
Why would somebody running for president use an extreme hypothetical and an imaginary one? And by the way, if they did repeal the Second Amendment and they came around for your guns, wouldn't that be legal? If you legally repealed the Second Amendment, right. This is a hypothetical, but at least mine is based on reality. Yours, you just made up a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist, like that the Supreme Court could repeal the Second Amendment.
What Trump actually said.
So if you repeal the Second Amendment legally, which you can do through the states or through Congress and the Senate, not the Supreme Court, by the way, the Supreme Court cannot rule part of the Constitution unconstitutional, because it's literally the definition of constitutional is it's in the Constitution. So whatever idea you have about how to get rid of amendments, you're wrong. So if you did repeal the Second Amendment legally, and then you had a legal like gun buyback program, and you shot at the people that came to get your guns, then you're promoting not just violence, but illegal activity. They wouldn't have the right.
Sure. Now can we move on to the quotes?
Well, I'm going to be sprinkling in Donald Trump clips the entire time we go along, but go ahead.
That's fine. I mean, this is a back and forth. This isn't just me. It's you and me back and forth. So, all right, just bear with me though, because I have more than a few of these. These are all. I want to be clear too. For the context, these were all quotes that were made after the fact of the Charlie Kirk assassination, most of which they were in direct response. They were being asked about the situation. We have Ilhan Omar. She says, quote, "There are some people out there saying he just wanted to have a civil debate. There's nothing more effed up than to pretend like this was the case. These people like Charlie are full of shit." This is how you respond to one of your fellow Americans getting assassinated. AOC.
Hold on. What was that?
What
was that an example of you just gave? I'm not even going to fact check that.
Ilhan Omar responding to the Charlie Kirk
that he just wanted to have a debate. Right. She was. Where's the call to violence or even the callousness in there? I don't hear it. Read the quote to me again.
You don't see callousness in there. I mean, if you don't, fine.
I don't think Charlie Kirk just wanted to have a debate.
The listeners can decide too, what their thoughts are on whether they think.
I think that going to a college campus
in response to somebody being assassinated.
Okay, maybe a little bit callous, but I don't hear a call for violence, and I would agree with her. I don't think Charlie Kirk wanted to have an honest debate.
Well, if you'll bear with me, it gets worse. AOC says, "I don't think a person who has dedicated their entire career to preventing gun legislation getting passed in this House has any right to blame anyone else but themselves for what has happened." Okay, so that's just victim blaming.
Hold on a second.
There.
That's not even blaming Charlie Kirk or saying something callous about Charlie Kirk. It's pointing out that you've... No, that is pointing out that the Republicans have seen to it that we live in a country swimming in guns. And then there's gun violence, and they're shocked.
And Charlie Kirk was a person she's clearly talking about. She's talking about.
Doesn't matter. She's pointing out that if you spend your life fighting for the country,
she's victim blaming. And what kind of gun?
Well, I don't know that she's victim blaming. She's pointing out reality. You fought to have guns sold in every corner store in America. You fought every gun regulation, and then there's gun violence. Don't be surprised. I would agree with that. You should not be surprised that if you fought to have this country swimming in a sea of unregulated guns, that there's going to be gun violence.
Charlie Kirk was murdered with a single. I'm not a big gun person, so forgive me for if I misstate this, but Charlie Kirk was murdered with kind of a single shot bolt action rifle, which is like the last gun you would ban. So like what?
Okay, hold on a second, but let's also point out. The assassin, for whatever his motives may have been, and there's a lot of arguments out there going both ways, but he was raised in a conservative home where they treated AR-15s like the family pet. You could see pictures of him as young as like 6 and 7 years old.
Not the ideology that he had adopted, which
you don't
by
know
the
that.
way,
look. You don't know his ideology, and neither do I, and that is still being determined.
You can't be. I'm sorry, you can't be that naive.
Dallas, you cannot be that naive to sit here and tell me you know what nobody else seems to be able to determine yet. So that said,
First off, the people who have charged him with the crime have come out. They've stated that it was that he had a left-wing ideology. His own parents have said he had been
his own parents who raised him around guns.
Ideology.
Okay,
not to mention the fact that he was dating his trans roommate. That he seemed to be
what does that
some
mean?
Sort of like avengement mentality. as it's related to the
what does that mean?
Trans
I
ideology.
don't know that any of that's true.
Clearly left wing. So Occam's razor
not clearly left wing.
Clearly, even if
Can you be gay and Republican?
Even if you just ignore the actual statements that have been said by the police, or the FBI or whoever it was that has put out the official statements on that now. Even if you ignore the statements that his own parents have made, still, like, Occam's razor suggests that this is obviously a left wing person, like some right winger is gonna murder Charlie Kirk, who's one of the most beloved right wingers. I mean, again, I don't know.
I wasn't making that point, Dallas. And if you'd calm down and listen to me for a second, I will make the point I'm making. Well, he was raised in a gun. Dallas. He was raised in a family that worshipped guns. There's pictures of him at every age with guns. His parents loved guns. He was raised in a hardcore far-right household with guns. He grew up worshiping guns, and then he killed someone with a gun. And for you to say that has nothing to do with it is insane. You seem to be the mind reader of the century.
Insane. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. You're smarter than this, dude.
It's not ridiculous, Dallas. This is a gun culture. Well, of course, somebody who only understands guns thinks the guns are the solution to a problem. So even if he was left-wing, the fact that he was told guns is the solution to the problem. Donald Trump said it. You Second Amendment people might have other ideas. Let's talk about silencing reality. And you say you trust the FBI?
Not necessarily all the time.
Not necessarily all the time, nor should you. Because they are trying to cover their tracks very hard right now. But the fact of the matter is that DHS and FBI report came out that said white supremacists and far-right extremists identified as top domestic terror threat. ADL, 75% of Dallas, 75% of extremist murders in the last decade committed by the far right, 5% by the far left. January 6th.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that talking point here in a minute.
But let's talk about the fact that the House... The House had a meeting in a hearing in 2023 when the Republicans had taken over the House. They had I apologize for laughing, but they had the Countering Left-Wing Organized Violence hearing. And at the end of it, the Republicans in the House concluded, quote, over the last 30 years, far more right-wing actors were responsible for 75% of these planned successful terrorist attacks by domestic extremists, while far left perpetrators were responsible for just 13%. That was the Republicans in the House's finding. And while we're at it, the Justice Department under Donald Trump, because they are the most dishonest people in the history of America, and they are trying to force this narrative on people like you, and you're falling for it. The Justice Department has reportedly scrubbed a study that documented the frequency of far-right violence from its website. It now reads, according to multiple sources, a 404 media error if you try and click on the report. The number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism, and domestic violent extremism was the conclusion of the report that the Justice Department, as of today, took off their website. You are being fed a narrative by people who want you to believe something that's not true. Now go to your next quote.
We'll see about. Well, I promise you, I'm going to come back to that, because we'll see if the talking points that you're pushing, if it passes the critical thinking test, and we'll get to that.
Why would
get to that here shortly? All right.
Excuse me, Dallas. Before we get to the critical thinking test, you've just exposed a logical fallacy.
What's that?
So that is that if you have the FBI and a number of other organizations doing extensive research and looking into this and coming to conclusions, your idea of if it's logical or not doesn't matter. Your opinion versus data wins every time. I don't care what's logical to you, Dallas. I care what the data says. And the data reports that far-right extremism has always outweighed far-left extremism, historically speaking, starting with the KKK, Jim Crow, lynchings, church bombings, and let's not forget the Oklahoma City bombing. And these militias who love their guns so much are all right-wingers. Let's hear your next quote.
Yeah, I promise I'll get back to that, but I don't want to get off track here.
Okay.
All right. Amanda Seales, who apparently some sort of actress, I guess, but also a political activist. She was recently on that show Jubilee that's Surrounded, which is one of the biggest political debate commentary shows. So it's not like she's nobody with no influence within the space. She says, "Quote: I can't have empathy for someone like Charlie Kirk. People say you don't have to agree with how someone lived to not agree with them being murdered. Yeah, I do." Okay. So she's saying that unless you agree with me, then I'm cool with you being murdered. All right.
No. She did not say that. She said, I don't have empathy.
And then she said, you must not have heard the second part. People say you don't have to agree with someone to agree with how someone lived to not agree with them being murdered. Yeah, I do. Again, it's clear what she's saying in that second part. It's saying, you have to agree with me, otherwise I'm cool with you being murdered. It's very.
Okay, I've never heard of Amanda Seales. Have you? Tell me something about her other than she was on Jubilee. Tell me one thing about Amanda Seales other than she was on Jubilee.
Oh my God, we're not going to get off track with this. Like, tell me something.
Okay, so again, President of the United States vis-a-vis somebody you don't know anything about and never heard of until you went looking for it. Let's go with a little Donald Trump clip, shall we? Since it seems like it's just going to be a back and forth.
To say it. I got them AR-15s in case the government gets too big for its britches. Because I'm going to fill the backside of them britches with some lead.
The only way you get your freedoms back is it's earned with the price of blood.
We are going to put on the armor of God. And maybe strap on a Glock on the side of us just in case. If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me, and you're going to have to go through 75 million Americans just like me. Most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking. If they glued their hands to a car, it would probably be pretty painful to have their skin ripped off. But I think that's the way we'd handle it in Arkansas, and I would encourage most people to take matters in their own hands.
Probably not the best time to give a gray AR-15, and I think most people know that.
It's like the old Roman Coliseum, where you slam on a breastplate and you grab a battle axe and you go fight the barbarian.
Okay, so I knew everyone there's name. I knew their voices. That was Robinson, who called himself "I'm a black Nazi" and was the GOP governor or a candidate for governor. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was Ted Cruz. That was Tucker Carlson, and that was Tom Cotton saying that people should take it into their own hands if there's protesters and throw them off a bridge.
Right, can I finish?
I know their names. I know their voices. I've never heard of Amanda Seales.
First off, the fact that you don't know somebody, or even if I'm not that familiar, it doesn't mean they aren't popular in a certain sense. It doesn't mean they don't have influence. Like Jubilee is like one of the most watched, most consumed.
But she didn't say go do violence, did she? Did she say? She said, I just don't care that the guy was murdered. You don't have to agree with somebody being murdered, and or whatever it was she said. Did she say anything about go do violence?
She said, people say you don't have to agree with how someone lived to not agree with them being murdered. Yeah, I do, which means she agrees with him being murdered because she's saying...
But was it a call to violence like Tom Cotton, like Carrie Lake, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Mark Robinson? Some people just need to be murdered, he said, or whatever it was.
All right, can I finish my quotes now?
No, you can do another quote, and I'll hit you with another quote. We will go one by one now, because I can see that you're not being very critical for somebody that says this doesn't pass the critical thinking test.
Not being very.
You have yet to hit me with anyone. No one is advocating violence. You have not. I hear no advocation of violence. Maybe that Amanda Seales person, that was unbelievably callous, and I'll take your word for it that she said it and that it was in context.
Here's some more.
Okay.
A musician by the name of Bob Villain. He says, they said this on stage at a concert. I want to dedicate this next song to an absolute piece of shit of a human being. His pronouns are was, were. If you talk shit, you will get banged. And I looked up to see kind of what the titles of some of his songs were, because it wasn't clear like what song he was dedicating to Charlie Kirk's death. He has a song called "Get Your Gun," which I'm going to assume that was that was the song of dedication in that clip. Destiny, who's one of the biggest commentators in the online space in the left wing sphere, he said, if you wanted Charlie Kirk to still be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term, whatever the hell that means. And then he went on to admit to mocking Charlie's widow on Twitter. And then he said, you need conservatives to be afraid to be killed when they go out to events.
I can't find this Bob Dylan thing.
What?
I can't find the Bob Dylan.
Bob Villain. Vylan.
No. Dallas.
What?
I know who Bob Dylan is. I can't find the quote. I'm not sure it exists.
It's a Bob Villain. I sent you the video of it.
I didn't receive that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you did. And I can send it to you again after this conversation if you really want to see it.
Bobby Villain.
Bob Villain.
Oh, Vylan.
Yes.
Okay, so who is Bob Villain? I don't know him.
He's a musician, apparently.
Right, but is he somebody with sway?
Somebody with sway. I don't know how much sway he has. The point.
Well, that
the point
matters
is,
to me.
The point is, I can go on for days, and plenty of these people.
I don't think
have
you can.
Sway.
He's an English punk rap duo from Ipswich, England. He's not even American. Where did he say this?
Did you
Where did he say this?
Do what?
Where did he say that? In America to an American audience?
On stage? I don't know, dude. I don't know who he said it to. He said it to.
That's why I've never heard of him. He's a British punk rapper.
Let's just ignore all these.
So that's your example, a British punk rapper.
Your whole thing is, let's just, if it's not somebody who's hugely successful or hugely popular.
Exactly. You're starting to get it.
Let's just ignore them.
The power you have in society, like Donald Trump, gives you more oomph.
And by the way,
in the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, they would not do it again so easily. We've become weak. And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. The audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of.
Good thing that the audience attacked a man at his protest, and he was saying, in the good old days, you would have been taken out of here on a stretcher if you talked back to me. Let's do one more Trump, because I'm trying to nail home that a man who is the president of the United States and the leader of a cult has far more power to incite violence than Bob Villain.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
How ambiguous was that? If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. How would you interpret that, Dallas?
I want to talk about more data and statistics because I think
no, you don't. You want to talk about You tell me right now, or we're not moving forward. How you interpret that quote?
So you're gonna shut down the conversation.
We will talk about the statistics all day.
Exactly the way you want me to. You're not responding to things the way I want you to.
Dallas, please interpret what Donald Trump just said. If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. How do you interpret that in a non-violent way?
People use bloodbath as a metaphor all the time. That's not
you
that hard. Give me a hard.
So
give me a
weak
hard
right
one,
now.
please.
That is pathetic.
Pathetic.
So
pathetic.
Okay, so then guess what? Read me to the next quote, and I will see if people use any of these metaphors all the time.
That's clearly
in other ways.
That's clearly. I lost my train of thought because I wanted to move on to some polling data. If you're cool with that.
Do you not have another quote for me?
Do you want more quotes?
I would like another quote because I want to see if there's any way I could, in the most dishonest way imaginably, interpret it as nonviolent.
Let's see if I have any more quotes. I have a quote from Jennifer Wexler-Stomsky, who is a Pennsylvania Democratic Party leader. She said this was on Twitter or online somewhere. She says, "I'm so tired of being told violence isn't the answer. History is filled with blood. Let's make some more martyrs."
Okay.
How you want to interpret that one?
History's martyrs, anyone could be a martyr for any given number of given reasons. History's filled with blood. I mean, I don't know what that means. That's the dishonest approach. But let's go with back to my original argument. I looked her up because you sent me that clip. She is very high ranking. She is the tax collector for Ambler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, see, it doesn't matter how many people express these things. Like in the totality of it,
matters.
It doesn't matter because they're not they don't have huge positions of influence.
Exactly.
Yes,
you get it and don't get it at the same time. That is
now.
shocking.
We're clear on that now.
That is shocking that you get it and don't get it at the same time.
Great. I want to talk about this recent YouGov poll that just came out about political violence. Are you aware of this?
That's a poll. That's not statistical data.
It's a poll of people who are expressing their views and opinions about political violence. Are you interested in hearing the results?
I'm very interested in hearing it, but I'm also letting you know that is not statistical data. That is a poll.
Okay. Here's the results of this poll. So this was sanctioned between basically 4 categories: people who consider themselves liberal, very liberal, and conservative, and very conservative. And
can you give me the name of the poll one more time? I want to fact check this while you're saying it.
I didn't write it down, the name of the poll, in my notes that I have.
What is it? What was?
I can't say the name of the poll, but
okay. What was the company again? U.gov.
Yeah, YouGov. It's a YouGov poll. So the question each side. Okay, so the first question here is how each side feels about political deaths. And people who identify as liberals, 16% believe it's okay to feel joy if a political opponent is killed. People who identify as very liberal, 24% feel joy when a political opponent, or think that it's okay to feel joy when a political opponent is killed, as opposed to 4% of people who self-identify as conservative and 3% of people who self-identify as very conservative. I'll give you the other question, and then I'll let you comment. And the other one was a little more direct about justifying violence against political opponents. 17% of people who identify as liberal say that violence is sometimes justified against political opponents. People who identify as very liberal, 25% say yes, sometimes violence is justified against political opponents, as opposed to 8% of people who identify as conservative answer to the response to the same question, and only 3% of people who identify as very conservative. Your thoughts?
Again, that's just a poll, and I'm reading about the poll right now.
It's just a poll. It doesn't matter. Just a poll.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
In the wake of
seeing people's actual reactions don't matter in mass, unless they're really
in mass.
Really important.
In mass, in a country of 350 people, you've given me 7 examples. You are down at the 0.000000001%.
Basically 24% of people who are very liberal, think it's expressing joy at the killing of a political opponent is perfectly
87% of people polled in the recent YouGov poll said political violence is never okay. 59% said it's a very big problem, and 29.8% said it's somewhat a problem. People over 65 are more likely to view political violence as a big problem compared to younger people, 69 versus 50%. Republicans are more likely than Democrats to say it's a very big problem. In the wake of Charlie Kirk, I would say that makes perfect sense to me. Justification of political violence. Overall, 11% say political violence sometimes can be justified to achieve political goals. I'm reading the actual polling data now. Where did you get your information from? Just out of curiosity.
I searched it on the internet and found it.
Did you get it off of a conservative lying piece of shit website?
So if it's a conservative website, it's automatically a piece of shit and lying.
Well,
right?
let's go with it. So if what you gave me was a poll. What I'm giving you is actual data, and the fact that the U.S. government actually took down that data showing that Republicans or conservatives are far more likely to cause political violence.
All right.
Then hold on, my turn. So just in the last couple of years, this is the political violence we've had. Let's start with Charlie Kirk. We don't know enough about this guy. Nobody can say for sure yet if he was a leftist, a rightist, and even if he was, I say growing up in a culture of guns, and the fact that you say that he had a trans girlfriend, so you seem like a pretty open-minded liberal guy. Are you saying a trans person can't be conservative? That's knocked down definitive proof that if you have anything to do with trans people, you are liberal. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying trans ideology is a left-wing thing, and the majority of people who go along with it support it's overwhelmingly a left-wing thing.
And what about the fact that the federal government put out lies about there being transgender ideology carved on the bullet casings that wasn't true?
Well, we know what was carved on the bullet casings. One of them said, "Hey, fascist, catch."
Yeah, that's from a video game. This is all from video games. It's all meme culture stuff that could very well make him a groyper. And I'm not saying what he was or what he did, but I know that there's two sides to this story. And that in fact, the groypers, I can show you on their message boards where they're saying
you really believe that he might be some like right-wing
no.
groyper.
Do you know how to listen? I just said I don't know what he was. You seem to think you know, and I'm quite curious why that is, since misinformation has been put out by the federal government.
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor has nothing to do with data.
It has to do with logic and critical thinking.
Right, but
making assumptions.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When using logic and critical thinking, should you take data into consideration?
Yes, you should take it into consideration, but you should understand. You should take a critical approach to it, which I think is a good transition, because I would like to kind of.
I'm not ready to transition just yet. So just answer the question: should you take it in?
Yes.
Should you
take it into consideration? But I'm also saying you have to critically analyze you can't just use talking points. I mean, you shouldn't if you're really into critical thinking, but just repeating something, 75% is right wing and 5% is left wing. Okay, that's a talking
the government
point. But have you taken a critical analysis approach to what you're saying, which is what I'd like to talk about now. I'd actually
before
like
you
to
do,
talk
I'm going to
about,
stick to the trans thing for a second, because you are being manipulated. All right, and we'll get to that, Dallas, I promise. You are being manipulated by people who want to shove a narrative down your throat. Kash Patel and others at the...
I think the same about you, dude.
Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. Why did Kash Patel say that there was trans ideology carved on the casings when there wasn't?
Well, we know now what was. So what maybe somebody thought,
but there wasn't.
That's
not what I asked. Why did they run to the trans thing? Why did they decide to attack a marginalized community that they knew right wingers would see that as a code word for leftist ideology? Let's listen to what Nancy Mace had to say about trans people immediately after using the most derogatory slurs imaginable.
Let me ask you about what you're hearing from Democrats after Charlie Kirk's death. Some of them are saying Trump needs to lead by example and tone down his rhetoric. What do you think about that?
They can shut the hell up about Trump.
Oh, I got the wrong one. But that's, again, when asked if Donald Trump should tone down his rhetoric, she says they can shut the hell up about Trump. Let's see what Trump did say before we move on to your next point, because I still want to play a few more clips here. This is, since we're in the post Charlie Kirk assassination moment, let's see if Donald Trump had anything to say to bring the country together as it teetered on a knife's edge.
On the left, people are watching all of these videos and cheering. Some people are cheering that Charlie was killed. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem. And they're vicious and they're horrible and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone. They want open borders.
Transgender again. So does that sound like a president bringing the country together in a moment of crisis to you?
Well, I can tell you one thing he's not doing. He's not celebrating the murder of
I didn't
a
ask
political
if that
opponent.
what he wasn't doing. I asked, does that sound like a president bringing the country together in a moment of crisis? And can you give me an example of another president ever in a moment of disunity and crisis and division in America that didn't call for calm and for people to understand that we're all Americans and we should come together? Can you give me an example of any other president ever saying something so inflammatory and blaming trans people, again, which we know?
How do you come together with people who celebrate the murder of people that are on your side?
I don't know.
That are very similar to maybe how you think, and they're just kind of normal Americans, like just.
Do you think that there were any Muslim people
views.
celebrating after 9/11? Did George Bush come up and say, were there any Muslims celebrating after 9/11? I seem to recall seeing some footage, and particularly in other countries, but in America as well. What did George Bush say? Those are our brothers and sisters. Don't take it out on them. He could have blamed the Muslims. He could have victimized them, subjugated them. He didn't. Why didn't he do it? Why did he take that moment to say, to create a moment of unity? And why didn't Donald Trump? Let's listen to another Donald Trump clip from the same interview, because this one's very telling. They say Charlie would want revenge at the ballot box. And then does Donald Trump say, yes, go to the ballot box and vote Republican? No, he says there are no ballot boxes. So again, with the Second Amendment people, maybe you have some ideas. He says there are no ballot boxes, so I don't know how you're going to take revenge. You'll have to come up with something else.
To the right, the people that are going to go, I want revenge, not to have revenge. Charlie Kirk would not want revenge.
You want revenge at the voter
That's
box.
where to go.
But unfortunately, we don't have so many ballot boxes because they have mail-in voting, which is totally rigged. Okay. You know, there are a lot of problems. I like ballot boxes where they do mail-in voting all over the place, which is rigged. Anytime, right. Jimmy Carter, they had a commission. He said, anytime you have mail-in voting, it's a crooked election, okay? And they got to stop. But I say, so I can't really say at the ballot box because in some cases, like California, doesn't have ballot boxes.
Charlie would want revenge at the ballot box, but I can't say go to the ballot box because we don't really have ballot boxes. And then he tells another lie that Jimmy Carter apparently said, anytime you have mail-in ballots, it's a crooked election. Jimmy Carter never said that. After the 2000 election, there was a bipartisan commission headed by James Baker and Jimmy Carter to look into ways to make the voting more secure. And they said that absentee ballots needed more protections to make sure that they were more secure, and all protections that they recommended were implemented. So a lie about ballots, and then him saying twice, Charlie would want revenge at the ballot box, but you can't do that. There is no ballot box. So I don't know. Maybe you'll have to come up with another way to get revenge on these liberals.
You're really stretching.
I don't think so, Dallas. I think you have put some sort of MAGA tinfoil hat over your brain and you can't hear what I am telling you. Why didn't Donald Trump demand unity? Why did not he speak in a calming voice at a time when the country was going nuts after a political assassination? Why did he blame the radical left before he could even know who did it? Before we even knew the name of the shooter, he was blaming the radical left.
I think it's interesting that everything I've said in terms of bringing up examples of people who are like clearly and actually calling for violence or celebrating violence.
Anonymous trolls.
You have looked for every way possible to excuse that, and then when you
haven't excused it.
And then you use the listeners to this podcast can judge whether or not
give me the names of these people that called for violence again. What were their names again?
Right, exactly. That's exactly how you excuse it. They're nobodies.
No, I excuse it because
they're just nobodies.
Let me tell you something, Dallas. In 1963, when JFK was assassinated, I would bet you anything there were people that celebrated it because there was no internet. Their voices couldn't get amplified, so nobody knew who they were. But did the country come together after his assassination? Yes, we did. You are taking the fact that there's something called the internet and that you can find the opinion of some 19-year-old kid, possibly a troll, just doing this for likes or for attention, and you're trying to make that indicative of the left. You're saying a 19-year-old kid with no followers whose name you don't even know is indicative of the left, and yet at the same time you're saying the president of the United States bears no responsibility for the fact that he cannot seem to say a single peaceful, unifying thing in this terrible moment.
That's not at all what I said. You just completely straw man just about
everything. All right, then say that Donald
I've
Trump should have said something unifying. Go ahead, say it. I dare you.
Do what?
Say Donald Trump has made a huge mistake and should say unifying things in this terrible moment, and that he's throwing gas on the fire. Show to me that you understand.
Do what?
Show me that you understand the difference between the president of the United States and an anonymous troll.
If your argument is first off, no, I'm not playing this game. I'm not playing this game.
It's not a game.
That somehow nothing Trump has said, none of the quotes that you've played, none of the clips that you played of Trump comes anything close to these just absolutely abhorrent things that have been said in the post Charlie Kirk assassination. Not just by people who are just like quote unquote nobodies, but I gave you some pretty abhorrent quotes, certainly at least in my opinion, from people who are like actual influencers, people who are actual politicians, and again, you just seem to be dismissive of all of it for some reason. I'm not dismissive of it. I'm not dismissive of the things that Trump says. However, I'm not going to draw a moral equivalency to the things that Trump has said to like actual celebration and praise of assassination and cold-blooded murder. I'm not going to do it. I'm not playing.
Okay, let me ask you this, Dallas.
Game.
Let me ask you this, because this is, maybe you don't know this, but this is how political leaders often operate, is in coded messages and the things that they do.
Here we go. The dog whistles, right?
Here we go. So you tell me this. What does it say about somebody's take on political violence when their first day in office, they pardoned people who shoved tasers into the necks of cops, sprayed cops with bear spray, beat people with flagpoles, put people in the hospital? What does it say about their take on political violence that they didn't care and pardoned the most violent insurrectionists from January 6th? What does it tell the population about that person's take on political violence if you do it in their name? What message do you think people received when he did that?
First off, I personally didn't agree with pardoning all of them across the board.
I didn't say all. I just said the most violent people. J.D. Vance said the most violent people will not receive a pardon. He said that a month before they went into office. And Donald Trump said, nope, all of them. The most violent will receive a pardon. What does it say about political violence if you get a pardon from the president if you do it in his name?
Okay, first off, none of those people were actual murderers. Secondly,
I didn't say murderers. I said political violence. So You're drawing a line between shoving a taser in a cop's neck, spraying them in the face with bear spray, beating them with a flagpole, and murder. You're saying that when it comes to political violence, one, you can get away with pardoning them, and the other one, it's reprehensible.
No, what I'm saying is there is a moral distinction between pretty much all of these January 6 people who, by the way, were already they already had a lot of them sitting in prison for a pretty excessive amount of time. You could easily make the argument that just from that, they served more than their share of time of being locked up for what they did. Maybe you agree or disagree with that.
So violently attacking the cops, you think that a couple years that's it? If you violently attacked a cop right now on the streets of Nashville, you think you'd get 9 months?
Do I think a couple years for First off, it depends on the severity. Did you beat him till near death? Okay, I think that again. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a legal
you're not.
scholar of any sort. However, if you're asking me my opinion, I personally believe that the level of severity, and I think our law reflects this somewhat. The level of severity of the crime definitely should reflect how much time should be served, or how long you should be locked away for it, for sure.
Right. So I bet you if I took a couple examples of non-January 6 people who attacked a cop in similar ways who are doing 10, 15 years, you'd probably say that that's good that they're in jail?
Or
that they should all get out of jail now too. That attacking a cop 9 months, 10 months. You know, I've interviewed and had on the show Pam Hemphill, who was a January 6th insurrectionist who came to her senses and said that it was an insurrection. It was violent. They were led there by Donald Trump and his lies, and has refused his pardon. And while we're talking January 6th, I'll remind you when it talks about political violence, they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." And when Kevin McCarthy called Donald Trump and said, "Call off your goons," he said, "No." And they just love democracy more than you, Kevin. And when they said they're chanting "Hang Mike Pence," Donald Trump said maybe he deserves it to his staff. And that's all under affidavit, and that's all been in court documents. The man likes violence in his name. And he's trying to stoke more of it now with lies.
So I would like to get into the some stuff about the crime stats, if you're cool.
I want to get into the stuff about the crime stats, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it in the Patreon only section of the show. So if you want to hear what Dallas has to say about the crime stats, I'm going to have to ask you to go to Regilio v Everything on Patreon. Join our Patreon. It's just $5 a month. That's one tier. That's it. I don't have multiple tiers. You get everything. You get the extra long shows. You get the extra content. That is patreon.com/Regilio v Everything.